a useful tool. Have you ever really just wanted to spank your kids because you have been so disgusted with their persistent disobedience? Stop, take a deep breath, and count to 10. If you have kids or plan to have kids, this is something you would need to decide between you and your spouse on what type of discipline you would use, and will corporal punishment be an option for you? As a kid, I was raised by parents who use corporal punishment, so I can tell you about the goods and the bad of corporal punishment. And as a father of 3 now, I use corporal punishment as a form of discipline also. And I'm going to talk to you about corporal punishment. I'm going to talk to you about corporal punishment, non-corporal punishment, and the effectiveness of corporal punishment. Now let's talk about corporal punishment. The UN Committee on the Rights of the Child defined corporal punishment as any punishment in which physical force is used and intended to cause some degree of pain or discomfort, however light. Corporal punishment has been a lightning rod for discussion and debate since this country was founded. Being that our country was founded on Christian belief, a lot of people refer to the Bible on direction on how to discipline their children. According to the King James Study Bible, he that spareth the rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chastises him, beats him. This line actually means that you will discipline your child early and often, and if you don't, you really don't care about their well-being. These kinds of rules are how a lot of people discipline their children from old and up until today. Dr. Diana Beaumont from the University of California at Berkeley did several studies on corporal punishment. In one of her studies, she stated that mild to moderate disciplinary spanking is no evidence of physical abuse or increased risk of physical abuse. Now let's talk about non-corporal punishment or alternative discipline. In the 21st century, this form of discipline is really coming to the forefront. The AmericanHumane.org says that disciplining children by spanking does not facilitate learning. It may stop the behavior for a little while, but not long term. There are all different forms of alternative discipline, such as putting kids in corner, timeouts, excessive, making them write things over and over, and even strenuous exercise. A lot of parents of today's time are taking up this form of discipline. Lastly, let's talk about the effects of corporal punishment. The AmericanHumane.org says physical discipline is most often used when a parent is frustrated or without another resource. Spanking in these circumstances leads to unintentional injury or even more serious abuse. The following illustrate more of what physical discipline does according to AmericanHumane.org. Increases anxiety and fear, hinders the development of empathy and compassion for others, makes children angry in response, heightens aggression towards others, decreases compliance and increases resistance, harms relationship with parents or caregivers, potentially causes unintended and severe physical injury, and decreases self-esteem, and it also teaches that violence is an acceptable way to handle conflict. Psychologist Elizabeth Gershow, PhD on the National Center of Children at Poverty at Columbia University, says that in her research of corporal punishment used with kids that it only increases child aggression and antisocial behavior. It also elevates the risk of child abuse. She also states from her research that the single desirable association with corporal punishment was increased immediate compliance on the part of the child. Dr. Diana Beaumont stated from her research that it's not a high association between corporal punishment and physical abuse, or that mild or moderate corporal punishment would even increase the risk of abuse. She did state that it helped with immediate and long-term compliance, and in most cases, children reverted back to the ways when they were corporally punished, they would think of the errors of their ways. I have talked to you today about corporal punishment. I have talked to you about corporal punishment, non-corporal punishment, and the effect of corporal punishment. I once again ask you, is corporal punishment a useful tool?